This is the latest and greatest President's Choice from Old Forester, and yes, it's a rye. That's right. Back in June, Old Forester announced the national debut of one of its most coveted and rarest expressions, President's Choice. Previously available only at the Old Forester distillery in Louisville, this marks the first time President's Choice bourbon and a new expression, President's Choice rye, will be offered at select retailers nationwide in limited quantities. Just so you guys know, I've been begging Old Forester to make these available outside the gift shop for years. So I guess they finally listened to me. You're welcome. Okay, let's find out all the details, compare it, see if it's worth the price point. Stay right here. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and appreciate all the support. All right, so President's Choice is inspired by private single barrels offered in 1964 by former Old Forester President George Garvin Brown II, which is said to be the actual first marketed single barrels from a well-known distillery. Yep, sorry, Blantons. Now, this year's releases includes both the President's Choice Bourbon and, for the first time, President's Choice Rye. Now, these are barrels, according to Old Forester, that showcase an extraordinary depth of character. Whether it's the bourbon or the new rye, each bottle represents the pinnacle of Old Forester craftsmanship. So each President's Choice barrel is aged between 7 to 9 years and bottled at proof points selected by Master Distiller Caleb Trigo and Master Taster Melissa Rift, which highlight their unique flavor profile. These will range from 110 to 125 proof. Now, I have reviewed President's Choice bourbon before. You can check out this video here, but today we will focus on the newest expression, President's Choice Rye. Now, my particular bottle has been aged for at least 117 months, which is actually over 9 years old. It's barrel number 39, and it's bottled at 115.1 proof. Now, the suggested retail price for these, $225. It's pricey. All right, let's get this a pour. Tell you what, it's a dark whiskey. Look at the color on that. That's crazy. All right, let's give this one a try. Here we go. This rye smells fantastic. It's dense. It's heavy. It just comes off that way. For a rye whiskey, this has very, very intense dark fruit notes, which I love to find that in a rye. You typically don't get it with a lot of Indiana-style ryes. You do find it in Maryland-style rye. I do get a lot of, dark fruits through Sagamore, whether it's a cast strength, single barrels, or some of their other blends. Even the ones that are not finished, I do feel like you get that a little bit. But when a Kentucky rye gets to a certain point and gives you these rich fruit notes, yeah, it's money. All right, so even though this is about 9 years old, I do feel like there's a nice hint of age here. I do think there's a little tobacco, a little leather-bound books action here. I get a little allspice in here. Borderline clove. I think it's more allspice, a little bit more subtle than a fresh clove would be. But again, it's that dark fruit note that's so prevalent that really is bringing me in. It's almost borderline raisin, fig, along those lines. All right, let's give it a try. This rye whiskey it's like a Broadway show. There's definitely two halves. You have the first half, then you have an intermission in the second half. The first half to me is all rye. It comes in spice heavy, spice driven. You get the black tea, you get the mint, you get a lot of like that black peppercorn, and again, what I was saying before, a little bit of that leather, that tobacco, and then all of a sudden it takes a little bit of a break. And then it just hits you with all the sweetness. Dark fruit, vanilla, caramels, brown sugar, maybe a hint of molasses, and then more of that age that comes through on the back of the palate. I feel like you get a lot more rye-heavy features on the front of the palate, and then you get all like these bourbon-y, sweet Kentucky rye flavors on the back end. Getting molasses here, just a hint of molasses, making it really dark. Very dense. The finish is just beautiful on this. Wow. Did not expect this to be this good. I do think there's a hint of a dryness there, especially on the back end. Again, ryes can be a little bit dry. I'm not getting a ton of that on the back end. I do think there's a twinge of that as well. But this whole like combination of like leather and molasses and brown sugar, it's really interesting, especially on the back end. And then you throw in those raisiny fig notes. This thing it's kind of a beast. You know what? Honestly, the more I'm sipping it, the more rye I'm getting here. I feel like the rye is starting to take over the sweet notes. The sweet notes are taking a little bit more of a back seat into the rye heaviness. So again, just more of the allspice, the mintiness, the black peppercorn, little allspice. It's actually getting into more of a fresh clove note here too, especially the more I sip this. I think the sweet notes are still there, but I feel like it's evolving into more of a rye drinker's rye. Yeah, but you know what? That back end just still has some little pop of dark fruit and some really nice leather tobacco notes. This is a fantastic release, fantastic rye, but at $225, it's a high price to ask. I'm gonna actually compare this to one of my older Old Forester single barrel ryes that I have from a few years ago and see just how much it compares. All right, so here's one of the original Old Forester single barrel proof ryes that released, gosh, what was that? 4 or 5 years ago already? That's crazy. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. But these were all the rage when they came out. People were clamoring for these bottles and paying a lot of money to get their hands on this too, because it was the first time not only that Old Forester brought a new rye out. Their standard rye whiskey is one of my favorite ryes, especially to make cocktails with. But when they rolled out the barrel proof rye, people lost their damn mind. So let's see how close or different they are. I don't think the noses are close. This feels, the President's Choice feels like a more upgraded, dense, dark, heavy type of experience. The single barrel rye at barrel proof, I do feel like there's some of that, but this comes off a little bit more ethanol forward. The rye components of this are more prevalent. It's definitely brighter. All right, let's give this one a try. Oh yeah, that's just a rye. That is a rye. So this one comes in at 128.6 proof. And yeah, it's been quite a while since I've dove back into this one. The President's Choice is easily a step up. Oh my God, yeah, the flavors are just so much more concentrated on the President's Choice. And again, this is one single barrel that I have. There could be others out there that are way better that would, you know, possibly compare to this one. But when it comes to these two in particular, the original single barrel barrel strength release and this new President's Choice, it's not even close. But really, this is an interesting category. When you think about barrel proof ryes and how they have grown in the last several years, this is an interesting category and one that is still not oversaturated with a lot of different options. But there is one option I think that you can get that could go pretty much head to head with this for less than half the price. Final breakdown time. All right, so final breakdown for the President's Choice rye for here in 2025, the first one ever in the President's Choice lineup. Price for this one, $225. That's right, pretty expensive, especially for a 9-year rye whiskey. Resale market value, I've seen these as high as $500, $600. Now word is getting out as far as like which barrel is better than this or that one, and people are pricing it as such. So the prices on these are pretty high because they're just hard to get. Obviously, availability is going to be super limited on this, but when it comes to value, this is the key. Now, as I mentioned, barrel proof ryes are still kind of new. The category has slowly grown over the years. You have Michter's, you have Jack Daniels, you have people like Pursuit United. Barrel proof ryes are becoming more and more relevant, especially from the big distillers. So overall, this is kind of a new addition to the category. But when it comes to value, there's a reason why I'm gonna say this is a low value. It's an absolutely delicious rye whiskey, but at $225, Brown-Forman has a rye whiskey underneath its umbrella that could probably go, like I said, head to head with this for less than half the price. Most I pay here, I overpaid to get this. I paid about $500 to get this bottle because, you know, I'm trying to get reviews out there, and I have totally been transparent about that before. But going back, if I had to buy this bottle again, it wouldn't be for a penny over retail. Which brings me to alternatives. The one alternative that can go head, well, there's two alternatives, but the one big alternative that could go right head to head with this, and you guys could say it with me on the count of three, because I know you're thinking it. 1, 2, 3, Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye. Those single barrels are the direct competition for bottles like this when you're thinking about a delicious rye that's anywhere from 8 to 9 years old for about 75, 80 bucks, and it's barrel proof, just like this is. You get the right single barrel, you can go right head to head with this bottle for, like I said, about 75, 80 bucks. That is the ultimate alternative for this bottle. And I would also throw some of the Sagamore single casks in there. Some of the Sagamore single barrel ryes I think could go head to head with this. And those are getting up to about 9, 10 years old as well. And those are about, you know what, $85, $90, maybe $100 the most. So there are some really good alternatives out there that can go head to head with this. Now I do think that Old Forester's is kind of, you know, playing up the whole President's Choice thing. We haven't seen these bottles. I think people are playing on the rarity. But I'll tell you guys this. Just last week, I was in Lynchburg, Tennessee, and I helped select for my bourbon group a 138.8 Jack Daniel's barrel proof rye from Coy Hill at a little over 9 years old, and I think could either crush this to some palates or it would hang right head to head with this, and that bottle's going to be about 75, 80 bucks the most. So there you go. Which brings me to my recommendation. Is this a skip, a try before you buy, a buy, or a buy and back it up? I'll say it this way. It's good enough for a buy at retail, but if you don't come across this, or you don't think you will get it, or you don't want to overpay for it, don't sweat it, because I think Brown-Forman, under their own umbrella with Jack Daniel's and what they're doing with those barrel-proof ryes, you can get yourself an amazing barrel-proof rye whiskey for less than half the price. That is amazing. That can go right head to head with this, and I think you'll be fine. I think $225 is a lot to ask for this bottle. I think the price point is a little bit too much on the premium side, considering what they have in their own portfolio. Honestly, I'd probably take the original Coy Hill Jack Daniel's barrel proof rye over this. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this review for the new Old Forester President's Choice Rye Whiskey for here 2025. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, find me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you think about the review, about my final breakdown. Do you agree with my assessment, kind of comparing it to Jack Daniel's, Sagamore, and some of these other great barrel proof ryes that are out there, especially for less than half the price? Love to hear from you guys, and as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on the Mash and Drum. I mean, it is damn good, but $225, it's a bit much. To my Robert De Niro, it's a bit much. It's a bit much.